today. So I'll hold open we need to nominate a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary treasurer for this new board. So do we have a motion for nomination of the chair?
I move to nominate Justin as chair of the board.
I
And
second.
I will accept the nomination. Thank you. Is there a motion for vice chair?
I would move that Ruth Kovnat be vice chair.
And I'll second that motion. And I'll nominate Holly as the secretary treasurer. Is there a second to that motion?
Second that motion.
Okay. John, do we do that right?
You simply have to have a vote on all three.
Okay, so why don't we, so in terms of the vote as for the nomination of me to serve as chair, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. I vote for the vice chair, Ruth. Aye.
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 None opposed. And a vote for Holly as secretary treasurer.
Aye.
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 None opposed. So I think all the votes were unanimous, and we now have our officer positions for the board. I would like to move to adopt the agenda for today, Friday, February 14th. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved. And okay, so now we're up to public comments. Are there any public comments this morning? Yes.
Need a vote on the,
Oh, I'm sorry. We do need to vote. Vote to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and can I make a comment, Justin? Do you mind?
Yes, absolutely.
Last night I sent you an email about the item 4A on the agenda, introduction of Dr. Rowley as the Santa Fe Community College president. She can't be here today, but rather than remove it from the agenda, Mariposa Padilla-Sivage is here to speak on her behalf. So I think it's wise to keep it on the agenda and have Mariposa make a short presentation.
Great. Are there any public comments? No public comments. Okay, so then we'll move to item 4, the information and discussion items. Mariposa, do you want to address A, the introduction of the Santa Fe Community College president?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all know, I'm Mariposa Padilla-Sivage. I'm one of the general counsel for Santa Fe Community College. And on behalf of Dr. Rowley, I just wanted to express her apologies for her inability to attend today. Unfortunately, legislative session was taken priority, and she had some unavoidable conflicts today. But she will be here to introduce herself to you all at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and please relay our understanding. It was hard enough getting this meeting on the schedule for just the 3 of us, so we understand.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a technical question? Is it important that people speak into the microphone because this is being taped?
I think so, yeah. So the next item on our agenda is introductions of our new board members. So we'll start by introducing Holly Agajananian, our newly appointed board member representing management. Holly, do you want to address the group?
Sure. I think I've met just about everybody that's in here, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with both of you.
Great. And our new board member serving as the neutral representative, Ruth Kovnat.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to learning a lot and trying to be helpful in this complicated and wonderful process.
Thank you. And that brings us to the orientation and training for our new board members. Why don't we discuss that, John?
Mr. Kaufman, I suggested this be placed on the agenda simply to have a brief discussion about your new board members' desires. I asked Audrey to compile some of your background documents for you so you'd have a sort of a handbook for what the local board does and how it came about. This board was created through a resolution adopted by the governing board many years ago, but it wasn't actually appointed until collective bargaining initiated about 2.5 or 3 years ago. So it's a relatively new local board. There is a provision in the Public Employee Bargaining Act for creation of local boards for certain categories of public entities, and this college qualifies for that. But the collective bargaining process can be somewhat complex, and I'm not sure what background Ms. Kovnat and Ms. Agajanian have in collective bargaining. So if you wish, we can schedule some training or more structured orientation, but I will stand for the desires of the board on how you wish to proceed. But since it's your first meeting, I thought we ought to at least discuss it.
I think training would be very useful. I don't know how formally it needs to be conducted, but some insight into the processes that have been employed and the role of the board with respect to those processes, I think would be very useful for me.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. Same.
The next issue would be, do you want me to perform that function? Do you want to call a training meeting? The board can certainly call meetings for purposes of training of the board. Those usually are not formal public sessions because you're not actually conducting business, you're receiving training, but it's up to you how you wish to structure it. I've been doing collective bargaining. I am not a collective bargaining negotiator per se, but I've advised public entities for several decades on collective bargaining issues, and I can do a brief training in order to just give you a fundamental understanding of how the process works at your leisure, at your convenience. So again, up to the board.
That seems like a logical, you seem like the logical choice if that's something that you're willing to undertake.
And I'd be pleased to do it.
As long as you're willing to put up with the fog of our ignorance on this.
He's been doing it for years.
Let me say, it's not rocket science, but there are some niceties that you need to be aware of, and the role of the local board is a little bit odd because you only have duties. You have rulemaking duties, but your rules are already adopted. But after that point, your role generally is to address disputes between collective bargaining representatives and governing boards. And here, the process of collective bargaining went on for a couple of years, but was resolved last year through signature on a collective bargaining agreement, which I think benefits all parties. It's an extensive agreement. It's a first collective bargaining agreement for Santa Fe Community College, but it is something that was worked out without having to go through the process of prohibited practices hearings. Even though a couple were filed before the agreement was made, they were all resolved amicably.
So why don't we, so we should set up a time to do a training. How long do you think the training would take?
I think in a couple of hours I could give you a fundamental understanding of what collective bargaining process does and what your role in it is. And you could do it in association with a regular meeting or as an adjunct to a regular meeting or at a separate time. All, again, up to you.
And it obviously doesn't need to be public. It doesn't need to be scheduled publicly, so we could maybe do that offline with you to, okay.
Sure.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we schedule something with you, John, offline? Is there anything else you wanted to address with this item?
Not at this time.
Okay. Moving on in the agenda, we need to approve the June 18th, 2019 board minutes. Can't believe that's the last time we met. And I think they are in the packet. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
I would move that the minutes from June 18th, 2019 be approved.
Second.
And in terms of a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those meeting minutes are approved. And the last item on our agenda is the annual approval of the Open Meetings Act notice resolution, which is also in our packet. Has everyone had a chance to review that resolution?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and do I have a motion to approve that resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and so that resolution will be approved. And Audrey, do you have one copy that we should all sign? We can go ahead and do that. Okay, and with that, I don't think there's anything else on our agenda, and I think we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. I don't have a gavel yet. I need to.
One right here.
It's gavel. There
In front of Ruth, you should,
That's
you
right.
should get the gavel.
Oh, here's the gavel. Meeting is adjourned.
I didn't know who was going to be chair at the meeting. You guys to come sign these minutes.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Oh, sign minutes.
That's what I went to go print, and I'm like, well, wait, we don't know.
Who's who, yeah.
So
Thank you. I guess we didn't,
You're so
I'll go get them ready. And I'll
Okay,
be in
well,
my
what was
house.
our,
Just the chair and the vice chair. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
I think it was second Friday.
Should we just get together just
I don't
for a
have
time?
that.
You don't have your calendar for,
I have a calendar on my phone. We can talk
just in
about it.
terms of getting together?
Yeah, we could
Thank you.
thank
Or we
you,
could
thank you, Mary.
send out emails.
Yeah, we,
Just find a time that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Hey there, how are you?
Hi, I'm Marcy. I'm the ex officio president. Hi, nice to meet you, Holly.
Nice to see you.
It's really good to see you too. Hi.
how are you doing?
Good. So, short meeting.
Short meeting.
Well, we actually took one real action.
Yeah.
That's good.
This is good.
Yeah.
You passed the Open Meetings
Yeah,
Act.
That's right.
The,
Yeah.
a resolution
So
too.
we
And they
can,
got their
and we
officers.
can keep going.
Got some officers. This is all good. But yay, welcome to the new members. Thank you for being willing to serve.
Yeah.
Guys.
They're off and running.
We're up. And
Just keep it nice and smooth for us this year.
we'll see